Obviously we have a loosely formed collaboration with a number of institutions, a lot of them in this room. Could this conceivably be a collaboration with?
It's got to be.
With Schaumburg?
Yeah, when I hear.
Could we have a collaboration with Schaumburg?
Absolutely. That's the element that I sort of worked on as I was sitting listening to the other speakers. Yeah, of course.
Good.
Of course, there's so many ways we could do this, but right, this lesson plan / travel, I guess my sense is that as a lesson plan, this is just 4, but I'm sort of offering yes, these are the things we might want to keep in mind.
Sure.
But as a traveling exhibition, we can put Len to work and we can put this, keep those images and make them very, very powerful. Nothing like and teachers are looking for that. If they can get 20 images up on the wall, they've got, and it doesn't have to be 30 by 40, they can be this by that. They can purchase them. It doesn't have to be something that they're necessarily renting.
In terms of what you've already developed, what is your wisdom about the reaction of the teachers of hard copy versus digital? What are they asking for, and what do you?
We have some people in this room. Julie, are you giving a talk at all? You're going to speak today?
Yeah.
There are people. Yeah, Julie works on just how people like me, when I'll talk to the teachers, and then they're turning it into materials. But since I'm talking about David Patterson, I met him through that African burial ground, that unknown cemetery in 1991. He was the first politician. The fact that there was really very little interest in African American history in the early 90s, and it's picked up to the point where, I don't know if you noticed, Columbia University, there was a story in the paper a week or 2 ago, their MAAP project, I think African American something, but they made a major commitment to at least the digitization. They're not really dealing with New Amsterdam, and I'd have the same quibble that I start to have that now. I start to say that, well, history didn't start in the 1700s here, but they're just a natural offshoot of this. That's the African American element, but I think the entire experience of Europeans and Africans and Asians is here.
As you're talking, it occurs to me, and I think they're probably very incipient at this point, we just started the 5th ministry of the Collegian Church called Intersections, which is not church-based, but a think tank group designed to spread reconciliation and peace. And the tolerance message could well feed into that, and I know Bob Chase, the Reverend in charge of that, is interested, and they have a budget, and Bob was previously communications director for the UCC, so although I think we probably couldn't expect anything in the next few months, but I think eventually, if we develop something on the nature of toleration, that could be incorporated in the Intersections Ministry, and that he could also help us to get it publicized.
Thank you, Chris. Unless you have, no, you wrapped it up. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I think the next person is going to be the eminent.
What about Jim? Jim.
I think, unless Jim, do you want to?
Well, certainly, as you know, Casey just was, and as I am, I'm also to hear about the trials and tribulations of the archives that you have. As Casey said, it's behind a closet door. That's not to say that the door's closed all the time. We are, just to give you quick highlights and some things that we are moving ahead with, is of course finding a permanent home for our archives, one where they will be, as they have been before, properly maintained, and then continue our cataloging efforts. While that's happening, we are actually going through some of our old papers, which were the original source material. As we go into it, it's certainly not what's on the list. So it's gone from 70 items, I think we're up to 200. And all this is being translated with commentary by Frank Seifert, who's working with us. It's a long project and it's going to take time, but he's been sending drafts out and it all looks very good. Things that we didn't even expect to be there. So there's a resource that we're not even aware of ourselves, which would certainly, as time goes on, most likely be available to whatever we're doing here. We also did Frank also was kind enough to do with us a translation of our first library. It's not the complete library, but it does have maybe the first, say, 200 pages with English and Dutch side by side. So these are some of the things that are going on, even as we're trying to get things settled. It's exciting, and we still, of course, have our genealogical resources. The Museum of the City of New York has approached us about what we could possibly use. We are still available to researchers, and as John had mentioned, and Casey, it's just there may be a shift in us being available to a wider audience. So it may change, and this is one of the first efforts or a continuing effort recently to get that out there. So just to let you know that there are things moving. If we're still looking for our permanent home, but things are slowly moving ahead. So I just want to give you a quick update.
There is a history of collaboration between the Holland Society and Collegiate Church Archives. Holland Society published in I think 1913 the Salem's
1960. Yes.
Okay, 1960.
It's
Maybe you
called,
could tell
the
us
Minister's
about
Call
that.
Book. Minister Sellings, Dominic Sellings, in the 1680s. I think it's a couple of years in the 1680s.